panelists. Uh, First to go, Dr. Mahinder Singh. He's the former CEO and the rector of the Malaysia Institute of Supply Chain Innovation. And Mahinder will go first, and I would hope the panelists will also add a little more color to such a short introduction. Satyendra, a lot of us are aware, is the CEO of the Agri Skills Council of India. We would like to hear from him what they do. Harish, the CEO of the Farm Division of M&M, doing some seminal work in the area of capacity and capability building. And Ravi Menon, who's the Chief Executive Escorts. We'd love to hear from Ravi as to what Escorts is planning or thinking in terms of this entire complex problem. And lastly, Vijay, who's the founder, CEO, director of Ekgaon. So we're looking at a complex problem. We're looking at hopefully impactful, scalable solutions. And with that, over to my panel. Mahinder, if you'd go first. If you wish to speak from there, you're fine. Yeah.
All right, I'm good, thank you. Good afternoon, and very happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I do come from more of an academic background. I was working in academia for the past 10 plus years back in Boston. For the last 4 years, I've been in Malaysia. We were setting up a school. MIT and the Malaysian government had come together to set up a school in the supply chain domain. Now, it just so happened coincidentally, because I was in Malaysia, we ended up working in the agri sector quite a bit. And this led us to working on the palm oil in Malaysia. Of course, it's one of their key products. And as a part of our agri effort, we came to India as well. We tried to study some of the value chains, supply chains of the crops. And obviously, like any other person who's sitting in the audience who is more technology, modeling oriented, we sort of framed all those problems in a very direct manner. It's an optimization problem, it's a digitization problem, it's a sensor problem, it's an IoT problem. We can put up a marketplace. We can disintermediate. There are so many people in the middle, value chain and such. And when we started going closer to the ground realities, we realized how wrong we were in our approach to the problem. When we talk about disintermediation, that, okay, we have this middleman who takes 60% of the value, which is a very big number. Obviously, we want the farmer to keep most of the value. So we said, hey, this is something very simple. We can address this. We started studying this problem. We put in some students working on this, some PhD students, master's students, researchers, and what have you. And we came back with really nothing, because when we started digging this deeper, it was not about technology. It was not about IoT. It was not about a model. It is really about, do you really understand what's going on? And the problem was that when the farmer looks at their life, the middleman plays a very big role. We all know that. People who are in this space understand this very well, that if the farmer's wife is going to deliver a baby, they need money. Who is this person going to go to get the money? It is not the bank. It is not this marketplace that is in the middle. It is going to be this middleman. They come serve many other purposes beyond just enabling the transaction. So it was a very strange experience for us, that why is it that despite this knowledge that everyone knows this, that we cannot disintermediate this. We cannot remove this barrier that is stopping us from making this whole value chain efficient. So we started digging a little deeper to say, where is this that we have missed the opportunity? And that's where, when I started getting into this thing in a little bit more, I would say, direct manner, since last year I have stepped down from my job and I've started doing some of my own work. And now we are working for a company that is, it's a poultry company. We are working with chicken farmers back in Malaysia. And the same thing comes up, that when we talk to them, technology is the obvious thing that comes to my mind. But when we talk to them about technology, they come back and ask us questions that we have no clue about, that we just cannot solve those real teething problems that they have all the time that technology cannot address. So it was very clear to us, again, that I have to build capacity at that level. It is the gap between people who are thinking about these solutions, the technology people, IoT people, and people on the ground is just too big. You're going from a traditional process, a traditional farming, to a digitized complement of this is a completely different world. People who are dealing with these two spaces are very, very different. They look at the problem in a very different way. So we have to start bridging the gap. And for us to be able to do this, we had to start thinking about IoT. We have to think about digitization as two different things. One is, as we had done this for JIT and quality, there's this big IoT, which is the philosophy, the concept. Because in IoT, what we are telling the farmer, or telling ourselves, that now we are looking at the information flow. Information flow means we have to acquire the data. And for acquisition of the data, sensors are one way. These are obvious things that I will address, but the real pain points that people have, I cannot be assuming them or thinking about them sitting at a table here. I have to be with them. So how do you bring these two guys together? The technology people and the farmers together in a very direct manner is very, very important part of this whole evolution. Now, obviously, there are thousands of people working on this problem. I'm sure someone will find some solution. As they said, if 10,000 monkeys are banging on a keyboard, someone will write Romeo and Juliet, someone will do it. But that is not a very efficient process. I think this whole gap, this excitement about let me solve the problem, technology overtaking everything that really matters. Yes, we will solve some of the obvious problems, I'm not denying that fact, but it's more like 80-20. A lot of effort is going towards problems that I think do not require that much effort. It is really about making those guys on the ground understand the evangelization. Very, very important. Otherwise, it is not sustainable. Because technology that we are sending to them is very, as you look at it, it's very impersonal. They don't see anyone. They don't talk to anyone. We are just saying, use the app, use everything for app. But these are the guys who like touch and feel. They want to talk to someone. How would this work? Is this sustainable? Can this break very quickly? I believe so. So this is where we now, as we are working with some of these companies, what we are trying to do is institute some sort of a hybrid model where we go and talk to these farmers and look at the youngsters around them, their kids, their people in the village, and say, can we teach them? I think I can maybe communicate with the kids better talk to them about technology and let them train their parents, train their uncles, the aunts, that let them bring into this whole evolution or understanding of what does a digitized farming supposed to mean, how it is going to help you do your job better. So there have been these programs that have been started, at least in Malaysia, where these high school kids, they are being given these training programs on the site, which are truly about some technology, but they get, at home, they get the farming experience, and from us, they get some of the technology. And hoping that this discussion at home, discussion with us, is going to start something where curiosity will come. Hopefully, if it is productive, if it is going to make money for them, obviously, they are shrewd enough to know this is good for me, I'll make money. But are we solving the right problem is where I get stumped. I think this is where capability of the farmers become very critical because they will help us define those problems very effectively. So in all this, what I miss is that we look around people here, how many of us are farmers? How many farmers are sitting here? We are trying to solve their problems. But solving their problems in a manner, I think, in which we perceive them. We have to engage them in this discussion. So going closer to them, helping them understand what we do, the technology, but in the end, the problem definition has to come from the farmers or people on the ground. So for us, it has been a journey of understanding capability development, but it has been more at a structural level for an undergraduate program, perhaps even a diploma program, but that also did not cut it. For us, it was we have to get inside their homes, inside the home of the farmer. And this is where the younger kids, the 12th grade, bring them to the farm, show it to them, start some apprenticeship. We're not trying to basically give them, employ them, but at least some sort of excitement into what technology can do. They know technology, but get them excited. So not really a solution for the audience here, but experience to say some of these things that we talk about, I think they don't really hit or they don't really connect. So how do we do this, I think, is purely about capability building at the ground level. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahinder. A few eye-openers there. Just a show of hands, how many farmers in the room? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so probably that's telling a story. I don't know what exactly it is. Let me formulate that, but hopefully that's telling a story. So then over to you, and thanks, Mahendra. Over to you, and do carry us through the ASCI. And hopefully at the end of it, if we have time, this time instead of questions, which are welcome, we'll generally chat amongst each other, and I'm sure there are enough triggers. Over to you.
Thanks.
Would you like this?
I think that will be sufficient. Let me share the bigger picture first. All this, talks about skilling India started happening about 5-6 years back, when the realization dawned upon us that India is going to be the youngest nation, and we would be having a population below 25 years of age, to the magnitude of 50% of our population would be below 29 years of age by year 2022. And it's a boon right now. We are going to be the youngest nation. But in terms of vocationally trained skilled workforce, it is less than 5% as compared to 75% in Korea. Having realized this, the government created a new ministry called Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship 2 years back to take forward one of the important developments in 2013, wherein the government has brought out what is known as National Skilling Qualification Framework, NSQF, in which the levels of skilling are defined from level 1 to level 10, depending upon the various competencies and learnings outcome that are required. And by 2016, this year end, all kind of government capacity building funds, they would not be given if the programs, the capacity building programs, are not aligned to this NSQF. This NSQF basically came into being because the challenge in front of us was to restore the dignity of the blue-collar jobs, because in India, we are more than happy that if someone's kid is an MBA from Tier 2 or Tier 3 MBA institute, he would be more than happy if he or she gets 10,000, 12,000 or 15,000 rupees job, but would rather than let him becoming a plumber or electrician who can easily get 25,000 rupees to 27,000 rupees in Chandigarh. So in line of this particular development, there has been formation of the sector skill councils. Agriculture Skill Council is one of the 37 sector skill councils which have come into the domain of logistics, healthcare, petrochemicals. You name the sector and there is a sector skill council. Of course, right now there is a rationalization going on so that the ministry has to deal with the fewer sector skill councils, and by the early start of the next year, there would be about 25 sector skill councils which would be there. All these sector skill councils are basically doing the job of occupational standards development, curriculum development, train the trainer, and adoption of the global best practices. Coming back to the agriculture sector, in fact, agriculture is not taken as a skilled vocation at all. It is not perceived as a vocation in the first place, because the definition of skilled is so much, closely entrenched with the wage-based job roles that even some of the fancy reports which come out, try to equate this declining workforce in agriculture, which is expected to go down from 260 million people to 190 million people by year 2022. They think that it is no skill gap is there. So it doesn't need any nuclear scientist or anybody to decipher that in case like a country like India is adding almost 5 Australias to its population every year, where the agriculture land is declining, and you're wanting to have low-cost farm mechanization, you want to glamorize, you want to introduce technologies. So there is no way out when the traditional knowledge transfer is stopped. There is a need of external intervention which can happen in the form of skilling. When the sector skill councils were getting envisaged, agriculture was not even included. And later on, of course, the realization was there and they included agriculture, because agriculture is going to be the largest employment sector even 20 years henceforth. It might be 25%, but still the largest sector. Having said that, even within the agriculture sector, we have got 71 agriculture and veterinary universities in India. If you see, 50% of the output of these agriculture and veterinary universities, they become bank managers, MBAs, insurance manager, you name it, and they are into that. But whatever the 50% are left, they can be guesstimate that 25% go and become agriculture development officers who are supposed to do the extension activities, but ultimately they are doing the subsidy distribution and scheme administration. And the 25% who might be left out, but can be, you can make a guess, 12.5% might be going to the ICR system, becoming agriculture research scientists, and 12.5% becoming assistant professors. And they are busy in either taking sessions or writing papers or doing research. So where are the people who are actually, learning agriculture, going into the agriculture? So we don't, believe in, wearing aprons and doing the things. And there was no, vocational training which was happening in the agriculture sector. Anyway, we have started our activities about 3 years back with the support of the major industry associations. Sector skill councils generally have the compulsory participation of the government and training institutions. We have made standards for almost 137 job roles. Out of these occupational standards come the curriculum, which also have been developed for these 137 job roles. And from this curriculum, we would be developing the content, the participant handbooks, which are going to be pictorial in nature. And we will be more than happy if the people who are, coming out with the latest technologies, they want to contribute to the nation building, if they want to contribute anything to these model content books, which are going to be very, very minimally priced, being made available to all the masses through the various state skill missions, through the various state governments. Please do feel free. I will take the example of NCTEX. They wanted to, take this entrepreneurship and financial literacy for the farmers to masses, and they have contributed the material to us. We are also working, for the vocationalization by introducing agriculture as a subject in school, and we are operating in 533 different schools in 5 different states where the agriculture courses are taken from standard 9 to standard 12, from level 1 to level 4. We are also involved in implementation of some of the flagship programs, skilling programs of Government of India. Right now, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana first year has ended, and it has been extended for the next 4 years. And agriculture, we had to fight our way, but now we are given due, recognition and importance while any kind of allocation of training targets are done. We are also working with the various state skill missions on 2 kind of different programs. One is the fresh skilling of shorter duration, which is 150 to 300 hours. And there are a couple of other programs, which is recognition of prior learning. In agriculture, we have got many people who are experienced, but nobody has, recognized their skills. So we administer the assessment. We do a short-term training of 3 days, just an orientation, not the training, and then we administer an assessment. In fact, in the last 3 years itself, we have done about 270,000 training, in which the assessment has happened in 11 different languages. Talking about the farm mechanization sector, because 2 of my co-panelist members are from that sector, we had only 2 job roles, which were around tractor operator and maintenance, and second one was on the harvesting machine operator. We have just concluded, formulation of another 10 job roles within the farm mechanization sector, and in the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 2, we would be taking all these 12 job roles in the farm mechanization sector. Realizing the importance, just a month back, Government of India has affiliated their 100 KVKs and 5 different national institutions, including their 4 farm mechanization centers with us for the short-term training program. I would also request the people who are here to avail of the new Apprenticeship Act, which has been modified and made much more simpler, and you can have your short-term training programs covered monetarily by this particular scheme. And I would be circulating through the various associations this particular Apprenticeship Act with you. I will just leave it at that, and we are closely involving the corporates also. We are doing the Train the Trainer program, and in fact, we already have done at Escorts, Bangalore, we had a small Train the Trainer program, because now Government of India is also setting up standards for trainers. It's not like anybody can do training and can get a certificate. All these trainers need to have domain skills and platform skills both, and they should be scoring more than 80%, because either a person knows skilling or doesn't know. In agriculture, we had a dearth of vocational trainers because seeing the positive graduates. But now with the continuous implementation of the programs, we have people coming forward to become trainers, and we are looking at all kind of pool which include retired government officials to the retired corporate officials. I will invite more questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Zadinder. After Mahinder, you saw a high-level architectural view of the sector, and I'm sure we'll come back with time. And after this, obviously, 3 on-ground practitioners. So to begin with, Harish, I believe you have a small presentation.
I'm going to talk it through now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rohtash. And thank you, CII, for organizing this intense session. See, we saw many presentations from many eminent experts, and we understood how the world is changing, how the farming has to change in India. But this session is so apt that unless we implement the ideas, things are not going to happen. And for implementing ideas, we need people. And for these people, we need right skills. I'm going to approach this session from a point of view of mechanization, as Rota said, but I'll try to get also into overall aspects of farming and what it needs for Indian farmer to double its income as it goes along by 2022. We all know that agri-growth is critical to our success, also for our policymakers, because 2/3 of our population is engaged in agriculture. But we all also know the current practices are, in many parts of the India, are not economically or also environmentally sustainable. And therefore, whenever we're looking at a future technology, I think the key role of whatever we need to do, as much it is for productivity improvement, as much it is for yield improvement, I think it's equally responsible for creating a right environmental balance and creating a right sustainable processes in agriculture. See, looking at different climatic conditions and looking at different soil types and looking at different places, I fully agree with the view Mahinder represented, that whatever new technologies we are going to develop, I think they have to be co-created. We may get many solutions, maybe from Israel, maybe from anywhere in the world, but if you have to adapt to our requirements, I think there's an intense need to understand our consumer, understand our farmer, and co-create the right solutions for right places to implement. As I speak about it, we all know that digital technologies are rapidly making inroads in farmers' lives. We see the kind of, the growth in smartphone usage by the farmers or in the rural areas is going multifold. The smartphone and internet is becoming way of life. Sometimes we feel that WhatsApp is becoming the new helpline. We also get amazed when we see a farmer selling its bullocks on OLX. So frankly, this is the way the internet is approaching our rural lives, and unless we are going to leverage these new practices, we are not going to make inroads as we progress in our agriculture. While I am going to now talk about it, let me start with sharing our experience, the way we are approaching this digitization, the way we are approaching this digital behavior, and taking technologies to masses in the rural areas. The one big thing which is happening is this technology is redefining the expectations of the farmers. What I mean is the farmers are looking at a different engaging purchase experience. Farmers are looking at a better ownership experience. And the way they are looking at the things now is changing every day, and it's going to change every day as we progress. So we entered this approach, or we tried to experiment with the tabs for selling the solutions, selling the tractors, and not only selling the tractors, but also educating farmers what is good for them, which implements, which applications, which processes, and therefore we thought that why we'll not sell only tractor to them, but we'll tell them what makes sense for better agriculture, what makes sense to increase the yield, and therefore what mechanization practices they should adopt. I think we heard in the morning that when we looked at this entire profitability, prosperity thing, we also realized that the respect and dignity of the farmer is also at the forefront. And what we started realizing is when we start engaging him, he starts liking it. He feels that we are giving him importance. He feels that we are making him part of the new things which are happening around the world. And I think that's the greatest thing we should leverage as we go along. We also think that customers are uneducated, but our experience says while they are uneducated, they are able to relate to the things, and the kind of graphics and the kind of imagery we are able to produce in the digital technology, I think they are able to relate to it faster, and probably this is going to be very, very useful when we educate them to adopt the new practices, new technologies. But this is easier said than done, because when we see this, when we want to implement this, the biggest thing comes is, how are you going to take it to the farmers? How are you going to take it to our consumers? So two very important people in the chain. First, the dealer principal. He has to have that vision that he needs to now engage in different way to sell a tractor or any farm machine. And second, the skilling of the dealer salesman itself. Because while he likes to operate the tap, but he still has to understand the processes, the applications, and the mechanization practices more intensely, because he is all along wanting to sell a tractor or a harvester or any other machine. So it's important that we need to create a robust capability building model to enhance the dealer salesman skill. We had to go through intense classroom exercise, intense technology tools orientation programs, role plays and demonstrations, robust certification process, because then the dealer salesman gets attracted towards it, and it's a lot of pain. We have 22 on-field consultants who support us, almost 43,000 man-hours we spent in reskilling our sales force, and this is just to make the readiness for the technologies to be adopted in the future agriculture. The other interesting thing which we experimented is using the telematics in our machines. I think telematics is going to be the next big thing in the agriculture. This technology allows the equipment to talk to farmers. In many other parts of the world, this equipment talks to dealers. In many parts of the world, one equipment talks to other equipment. The tractor speaks to combine harvester. See, while we look at this kind of situation, I think there's an intense need to also co-create this along with the different design houses. We try to do with our own house in Tech Mahindra as well as Bosch and Vodafone. The critical thing is, as the things change in every part of India, the practices change, and adopting this to your machine becomes very critical, and therefore the capability building of our own engineers and other support technology houses becomes very important. So while we build our capability, building capability of such processes in others also is important. Let me quote you a very, very simple and a stupid example. We see telematics in our cars. It's very simple. The technology house who builds the telematics for a car cannot imagine that once somebody sits in the car, unless he wants to get out of it, he'll not remove his key. What happens in tractor? The customer sits on the tractor, starts it, the key goes on his pocket. If this technology provider we are not able to put right logic, the telematics will start sending wrong messages. Because it's a different world. So the skilling also requires knowing these practices, a real customer insighting which has to happen, and that capability also has to come in while we create things to adopt our technologies, adopt our machines. I'm sure our machines will change, but we are not going to wait to introduce technology to change all the machines. We have to also implement technology with the current machines on the ground. And therefore, this kind of instances we'll have to go about. We also had a good experience, a good experiment going on in custom hiring. We're using technology platforms to enable custom hiring. It needs a lot of efforts, a lot of capability building into hub managers, into the customers, into the drivers, and all kind of things is needed to look at this aspect. Having said this, let me move forward and say what future holds on for us. And we saw a good amount of intensification of technology which is going to happen, which we saw in previous sessions. We talked about drones, we talked about this cloud computing, we talked about Internet of Things, we talked about mobile internet, we talked about automation, we talked about AI. I think it's going to lead into precision farming, it's going to lead to tech-enabled advisory, it's going to be focusing on real-time information availability and also the technology-enabled supply chain. So when we see this, the connected farms and precision agriculture, if you have to bring into Indian agriculture, I think there's